So the first thing we're going to do is just talk a little bit about the guitar. I'm using a Strat right now. And, at this point, you probably know quite a bit about, guitars and things like that. So I'm not going to go into detail as to the parts of the guitar and thing. But what I really want you to understand is that things like the tone, the volume, and certainly the toggle switch, the switch that switches between the pickups, these things are really important when you're learning how to solo. What I find a lot of my students doing is that they'll turn everything on 10 all the time, and then they'll just choose like one pickup and stay there all the time. Now, what I have a tendency of doing is I switch a lot. I switch between my pickups a lot, my tones a lot, and what I'm going to do is try and explain to you a little bit about the sounds that I can get from this guitar. Now, needless to say, right now, in the situation that I'm sitting in, if I choose certain positions, you're going to hear some buzzing. And your guitar probably does the same thing. So the majority of the DVD is going to be played in my second position where I have the least amount of buzzing. I love to be in the first position where I move this all the way down, but there's going to be a little bit of buzzing there. If I move it up a little bit, that buzzing goes away. So I'm going to try and play in the second position the most of the time, but just so you kind of understand how this works, if I was in the first position all the way down here, this pickup is on. And it's really the brightest pickup I've got. It's the most aggressive pickup I have. When I move it up, these two pickups are on, which is a little bit sweeter sounding. When I move it to the middle, again, I use that for a lot for like funk music and things like that if I'm playing, stuff like that. And then the fourth position and then the fifth position. And basically the way it kind of works is as you keep moving through the positions, the sound keeps getting a little more like this. And depending on the kind of guitar you have and depending on the kind of pickups you have, it all makes a significant difference. The more expensive the guitar gets or the more selective the pickups are or the amp that you're using, things like that, the more you're going to notice differences in sound. Now, I'm going to be using kind of a generic tone here from my guitar gear. I'm using a Line 6 plugin right now for these sounds. So when I go into the second position, you're going to notice there's a subtle reverb and a subtle delay on there, just to kind of wetten things up a little bit. So primarily I'm going to be in that position, but I want to show you the difference between the first and the second position here real quick. So right now I'm in the second position. Now I'm going to go to the first position. See how it gets more aggressive? It's more bright and certainly on this guitar, it's a lot more edgy. Here's the second position. Might as well go through all of them. Here's the third position. Fourth position. Notice how it gets a little bit thicker, fatter, kind of bassier almost. And here's my top position, my fifth position. You notice there's a lot more buzzing there too. So if you've seen any of my other DVDs, you've seen that I have different kinds of guitars as well. These are all single coil pickups, and so they're a little bit thinner in nature and certainly a great sound. Where some of the guitars I have humbuckers in them, and those tend to be much more aggressive in nature. But the buzzing certainly goes away as well. So anyway, just so you know, I'm going to be using that second position. I'm going to have my tones pretty much up the whole time. My volume is the one I'm going to talk about a lot when we start moving through and actually talking about improvising. I'm going to explain to you more about switching, and you're going to see me switch. I have 3 different camera angles here that you'll be able to kind of see either a full view or the neck view or kind of a side view of kind of what's happening here, so you can watch me switch between the pickups and move my volume and things like that, little nuances that I tend to do a lot when I'm playing.